Hi everyone. So in this video, we're going to be looking at why riders react the way they do in high pressure situations. So when a rider finds themselves in a challenging situation, so this could be anything from coming across a plastic bag when you're out on a hack, to riding a dressage test or facing a particularly daunting cross-country fence, the rider will sometimes consciously, but mostly unconsciously, the rider will make an evaluation of the demands of the situation and their available resources. If the rider perceives that they have the resources to cope with the situation, then they will go into what is known as a challenge state. However, if a rider does not feel they have the resources to cope with the situation, they will go into what is known as a threat state. So, a rider who's experiencing a threat state. Once a rider goes into a threat state, this will cause biological and physiological responses that mean the rider will experience a decrease in cognitive function. So they won't be able to think straight, their brain will go all fuzzy, and sometimes there's a tendency to overthink. They'll experience less controlled, effective motor movement. So they might feel like their muscles don't function very well. They'll experience negative emotions such as fear and anxiety. There'll be a decrease in motivation. So they'll feel like they want to try and avoid the task completely. And they'll have a feeling of not being able to control the situation. So, in contrast, a rider who's experiencing a challenge state, they will have biological and physiological responses that lead to a proactive state. So, this is the state where the body prepares itself for action. So they'll have improved cognitive function, so they'll be able to think clearly. They'll be engaged in the task. They'll be focused on the task ahead. They'll have high levels of motivation, and they'll also feel an increase in muscle power. So they'll feel that their body is ready for action. And they'll have more effective automated responses. So this produces a cycle of events that can either be positive or negative. So let's say, for example, a rider um, adopts a threat state. So the physiological and biological responses that the rider will have as a result of experiencing a threat state will impact how effectively they can respond to the situation. Now, if a rider is in a threat state, because of these physiological and biological responses, they're less likely to be able to respond to the situation effectively. And this means there's going to be less chance of a positive outcome. And this in turn is going to reduce their feelings of self efficacy and confidence. So, self efficacy is a very specific type of confidence where we have confidence in our ability to have the skills to be able to cope with a particular situation. So this in turn is then going to impact the situation the next time that they are faced with the same situation, because there's a decrease in their self belief, in their belief that they can cope with the situation. They're much more likely to find themselves in a threat state. So then we have this vicious cycle. Now, in contrast, if a rider can adopt a challenge state, then they are going to have the physiological and biological responses to respond to a situation effectively. And that's going to mean they're more likely to have a positive outcome. So, this positive outcome is then going to build their feelings of self efficacy and confidence if they find themselves in that situation again, because they're going to feel like I've been there before and I've coped with it before. So, they're going to have confidence in their ability to be able to deal with the situation. Therefore, they're more likely in the future to adopt that proactive challenge state. So, when it comes to building a rider's confidence, there's a number of things we can do. So, first of all, we can adopt a top down approach. So, this is when we seek to impact the thoughts and emotions that a rider has around a particular situation using cognitive behavioral techniques and psychological skills such as imagery and goal setting. In addition, we can always also seek to build confidence via a bottom up approach, for example, focusing on um, the rider's physiology so they can alter their perception of a situation using techniques such as relaxation breathing. So, if you'd like to know more about how sports psychology can help you build confidence to overcome rider anxiety, feel free to get in touch for a free, no obligation chat. And I look forward to seeing you all again soon.